Hello friends, and welcome back to the shop, and welcome to the beginning of a new restoration series. And the subject of that series is this stummel. And this stummel comes to me from my friend John, who has a YouTube presence as jlucas39. Although John asked me to point out that that is actually his young son's channel, so please don't go to jlucas39 and expect to see lots of pipe smoking videos. So the pipe is, as you can see, in not great shape. It's got quite a few battle scars, but it has a very interesting family history, and that's why John is interested in having it restored and hopefully put back into to service. So this pipe actually belonged to John's great-great-grandmother. His great-grandfather's mother, so that would be his great-great-grandmother. And it is, as you might expect, a rather old pipe, because she passed away in 1920. So this pipe certainly was purchased and smoked prior to 1920. And unfortunately, I've been over the whole thing with a magnifying glass, and there are absolutely no markings, even faint markings on the pipe. Now, as you can see, it's been pretty beaten up, so there may well have been markings in the past that have just worn away or been scratched away, but there's nothing to identify it on the outside of the pipe. So, in looking at it, I was immediately struck by the shape, and maybe I'm just maybe this is just wishful thinking here, but to me, this pipe has a very distinctive Peterson shape. I'm thinking in particular of the Peterson 221, and Peterson pipes of that shape typically would have a cap, and as you can see here, there is a line evident right in here, and there's a bevel along the edge here of the shank, and that does suggest that there was a cap fitted to this at one time. But I can't prove that this is a Peterson. However, I had my suspicions, and then I looked inside of the shank, and hopefully I will be able to show you this. Let's see if I can get some light in there. Yeah, hopefully you can see in there, this is unmistakably drilled for the Peterson system pipe. So at the time that this pipe was purchased, pre-1920, as far as I'm aware, the only manufacturer that was making system-type pipes was Peterson. Peterson got the patent for system pipes in 1891. I think it was that was in Ireland. A bit later, like 1895, 96, I believe, in the States. But they were the originators of this this type of drilling. So I am very, very confident, although I can't prove it, that this is in fact a pre-Republic era Peterson. Peterson has a really interesting history, and I'll put a link below to the Pipepedia entry on Peterson, because it's really fascinating. They're a very old company, originally started by a guy named Cap. I think it was Frederick Cap. And he hired Charles Peterson, who was an immigrant from Latvia. And Charles Peterson quickly became the top guy at Cap in terms of being a pipe carver. And then when Frederick passed away, the company was passed on to his two young sons, and it became Cap Brothers. Charles Peterson took over the sort of factory aspects of pipe production at that point, and eventually he bought them out, which is how, for a while it was known as Cap and Peterson, and eventually just became Peterson. So really interesting history. So with the system patent happening in 1891, 1896, somewhere in that range, this pipe being purchased in pre-1920, everything fits together. So I really do think we've got an example of a very old, very worn Peterson. So Obviously, this is going to be a lot of work to bring this back to life, but John wants to do so because of the family history aspect of it. It's not every day that you get to smoke your great-great-grandmother's pipe, but also to have something to pass on to his children. So, we're going to try our best to restore this to smoking service, although there are some concerns. But we'll do our best with it. And he said that as long as he can just occasionally smoke it, he'll be happy. So let's look over it and see what we actually need to do. So first off, in the exterior, there's obviously a lot of dirt and probably some burning. And this happens, you can see down in here, there's quite a bit as well. This happens very often when a pipe is laid in an ashtray and people are smoking cigars or cigarettes and they put them in the same ashtray. Don't do that with your pipes. It's a terrible thing to do. So we're going to clean that up. We'll clean the exterior as best we can, and we're going to also do some sanding. Now, John said that he doesn't mind if there's some nicks and scars left on the pipe because it kind of tells the story. So we're going to, for example, there's a large chip out of the edge here. So we're not going to go to great lengths to remove those defects, so we wouldn't top this and bring it down below that. We'll sand it smooth, we'll stain it and make it look nice, but it will still be a defect in the pipe, and there may be some other gashes and marks on this that will just tell the story of the pipe. We will do some sanding, but not so much that we make it back to showroom quality. The interior of the pipe is not too bad, actually. It needs to be reamed, but it looks like it's in fairly good shape. I actually cannot see the draft hole. It's up on the side, so we may have to resort to some pipe mud on this. We'll just have to see once we get it cleaned and I can better tell where things are. And of course we're going to have to clean out the shank, although I can, if I put the flashlight in there, and hopefully I can catch this. No, that's always a difficult thing to catch, but I can see light coming through there. So the airway is open. The little sump is going to have to be cleaned out. And the one major concern on this pipe is right in here. And hopefully you can see there's what appears to be a small crack right here. And John actually referred to this as a burnout in his original, when he originally contacted me. I looked at it and didn't think it was a burnout. I thought it was a crack and that maybe, again, a cigarette or something had been laid there. But he said that he actually put his hand over here and blew and could feel air coming out. So it's very likely, if it is a crack, it's a crack that goes all the way through. If it is a burnout, that's going to be an issue because we're going to have to clean that out, get rid of the burned briar and replace it with some fresh briar. And I don't know exactly how to do that because it's in an odd spot. So we'll just have to see how this develops, and it'll be a bit of an adventure for us. As I mentioned, this clearly had a cap on it, and I'm going to have to try to source a cap of the correct size and dimensions. And based on the angle of this mortise, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I'll place this rod right up against the mortise wall, and you can see it's coming out at an angle. So that's telling me that this was actually an army mount. So there'll be a cap. The cap will cover this part, and then the army mount stem will go in here and mate up with the walls of the mortise. So we'll need to fabricate an army mount stem out of ebonite, and we'll look at some examples of Petersons of approximately this shape and hopefully of approximately this vintage, and try to get an idea of what would be a historically accurate stem. So that's the plan. We'll begin by cleaning and take it from there and see where this little piece of history leads us. If you're a subscriber, you will be able to keep up with this project because you'll be getting notifications as I post new videos. If you're not subscribed and you're interested in following along, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It'll keep you aware of all the things that are happening here on the channel. And with that, I will draw this video to a close. So until next time, I will look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Goodbye now.